Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would try to do a story time. I have enjoyed some of people's that I have seen around here on YouTube. Some are funny, some are serious, some have a moral. Kind of hope you can pull a little bit of everything from mine. But I just wanted to talk about a bad first date, first impressions that I had back in the day. So back in my mid to late 20s, I think it was. Actually, I think it was my early to mid 20s. I was working at a gas station. You know, your typical job. It was what it was. It was a popular one around town. If you're in Ogden, you would know it. Stimson's, just throwing that out there. Anyways, I used to work as a cashier, and sometimes I'd work in the front and the back. And if you worked in the back, you were more likely on gas. And then so we also had a drive-through window, and so I would meet all sorts of people. I mean, after a while, you get to meet who's all around town. So that was a cool aspect of it. But along with that, you got to kind of meet your local weirdos, whether or not you thought that's what they were at the time. But anyways, there's a guy that came through, and I remember thinking at the time he wasn't typically someone I would be attracted to or be like, that's my type. But he seemed nice. I was in the mode of opposites attract. I wasn't seeing anyone, and sometimes when you're a bigger girl, you tend to be a little more open-minded. If someone asks you out, you don't want to come off as rude sometimes, or at least me, I don't want to be rude or, you know, seem stuck up, or, you know, like be like, oh, she must think she's all that. So I went out on a date. We exchanged information. I can't remember how he asked me, but I just remember he asked me, and he seemed nice at the time. And then so we exchanged information, and then I think he actually called me, and we ended up going out on a date, or quote unquote date. But it was, he picked me up, and then at the time I was living with my grandmother, so I picked me up from my grandma's. I remember walking out the door. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, who I was with, what was going down, anything like that. I was just like, peace, I got a date going, you know. Rule number one, tell people where you're going at all times. Let them see who you're going out with, just in case anything happens. But you know, I know that now, but at the time I was like, don't be in all my business. So yeah, I went on his first date with someone that I hardly knew, and he came and picked me up, and I can't remember, it was like a little ghetto red car. Why I say ghetto, you know, like a little beat down beater kind of car. I think it was like a Toyota Corolla looking, something along those lines, one of those kind of cars. I remember it being red. So get in the car, and I'm like, okay, so where are we going? I'm thinking we're gonna go to the movies, we might go out somewhere to eat or something. Your typical first date. And he's like, I was thinking maybe we could go up the canyon. Now, where I'm from in the area, there is a canyon, and it goes up into the dam, and it's beautiful scenery everywhere. If you go up there, it's in the nature part of Ogden. So I was like, well, sure, but the only thing is it's a longer drive, and when you go out there, you lose cell phone service. If you don't know where you're at, it's not a good place to be, especially on a first date. But I was like, okay, well, sure, no problem. I like, you know, to go for a drive anyways. So we get in the car and we take off, and then he stops at the gas station. I remember him asking me, you know, like, what do you like to drink, like, you know, beer-wise? And I'm thinking, like, I'm not a big beer drinker, really, but I think he ended up saying, like, well, here, I'll get you, like, a natural light or something. I don't know, a natural light. So he comes back out. Not only am I waiting there thinking, okay, well, you know, kind of drink a little bit, I guess. It was kind of scary because he's driving, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. But he comes back out with one 24-ounce can like this and 2 styrofoam cups. Okay, now I'm not trying to be like, oh, you know, you got to give me the world, you have to wine and dine me or anything like that. I mean, you're getting to know someone, you're getting to know someone. But I was like, damn, he couldn't even give me my own beer. Like, seriously, like 2 styrofoam cups? Like, what is that? That should have been my first sign that I was like, okay, this dude is cheap. Like, cheaper than, you know, expected. But I was like, okay, whatever, you know, I'm being nice, you know, let's go and see, maybe, you know, our personalities will click or something. So we end up going up the canyon, and I remember, like, we pulled over to the side, and we actually didn't go too far up it, and so there's like a waterfall when you first go in. There's parking along the side that people tend to park at, and then I believe, like, down the road a little bit is there some kind of like a hot pot or something that people like to go swimming in. But it was a little bit later. I think it was like 5 or 6 or something like that. I don't remember. Maybe it was like 6 or 7. I just remember it was like a little before it was going to start getting dark, and so I don't think it was quite summertime yet. But I remember thinking, okay, I'm up here with this person. I'm not sure who this person is, but let's see where it goes. So we're in the car. He pulls over, busts out, and gives me my cup full of beer. And we're, chatting it up. What's your favorite color? What do you do? What do you like? Do you got kids? Who you been with? I mean, all that kind of, first date stuff. And I just remember thinking, like, God, he's kind of like, I don't know, we didn't really click. You just don't click. There was something about him the whole time that I was like a little uneasy with and just a little uncomfortable. But when I get really nervous, I tend to be like, like, oh, everything's okay, yeah, So we were talking, and I'm just remembering like, I don't know, maybe, after this, like, when I go home, this will just be the end of it, because, yeah, I'm not feeling it, but I tried. But he's talking, and then I just remember being like, out of nowhere, it got kind of quiet in the car, and I'm just sitting there sipping my little cup of beer, and all of a sudden I look over at him, and he's like fumbling around, like touching stuff in the car, like he's looking for something. And I just remember it just kind of made me feel nervous. I can't explain it, but his demeanor and the way he was just, I couldn't tell, like, when he was joking, if he was joking, and if he was being serious, if he was being serious. He just had a weird dry sense of humor that I wasn't used to. And so, like, he's fumbling around, and I just kind of got a little uncomfortable. And I remember I kept trying to, like, talk or say something, and he wasn't really saying anything at that point. He just kind of was like, would look straight ahead and like put his hand on the side, like, of the seat, like he's looking for something. So I got red flags going on, like, what's going on? Something's up. I started looking around for people, because, like, even though we were where people were, people go wandering off and go on trails. I told you, they go down into the hot pots. So there's not people just always kicking it in their cars. So if something were to ever happen, I mean, like, the likeliness of someone seeing you is, I mean, it could happen, it could not. I mean, you might be a few minutes, or like 10, 15, 20 minutes. A lot can happen in that time. So he's fumbling around, and I finally see him pull out, and it looked like a box cutter. Now, at this time, when I see this box cutter, right, to me, it's like a machete. I'm like, he's ready to cut me up. He's ready to, I don't know what he's going to do with it, but he is fumbling around with it forever. He was so interested in it. And then when he started talking, I don't remember what he was talking about, but he started talking again. Finally, he's like holding it around, kind of like, I swear to God, it seemed like it was going in my face at times. I was like, like, this dude's gonna cut me up, like, I'm gonna be one of them people that you hear about on TV. They're not gonna be able to put me on like a milk carton, because, I'm a big girl. I'll put like half my face, put my description or something, but I'm like, I'm gonna end up going missing. Anyways, what it was after he's talking for a minute with that box cutter, and I'm looking at him like, touching the door, like, do I need to try to make a run for it? He decides to cut, the fabric that hangs from the cars when they get old, it like bubbles down. He like just cuts a big old chunk of it off. And I'm like thinking that's just ghetto, like, really? And he's cutting it off, and then he just like looked at me, and I must have had that look of like, please don't hurt me, like, is everything okay? Because then he looks over at me, and he's like, are you okay? He's like, you didn't think I was gonna cut you, did you? But then at that time, he's like doing this, like, towards me. And so I'm like looking at him like, no. Yeah, I'm like thinking, dude, I might not even make it out of this car. And then so I kind of try to play it off after that as like, he finally puts it away, like, okay, I'm just being dramatic, it was just me, I don't think he meant to scare me that way. I still don't know if he did. I don't know. It was just a weird ghetto moment. I mean, why would you do that on the first date anyways? And you should not be busting out, sharp objects to begin with. People you don't know. So by that point, I'm just kind of like, like, is there time to go? We've been up here for a little while. Conversation wasn't going anywhere. Then I remember him being like, I don't know, like, kind of complimenting me in a way. And then he like was asking to like look in my mouth. And that was like a weird thing to me. I still don't get that. Like, what, you want to see if I got dentures or something? Which I don't. But like, I don't know. You want to look at my tongue? It was weird. So then I kind of got that creep out moment of like, oh, he's a Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know. He wants to take body parts home. But he's like, yeah, let me look into your mouth. And then I kind of just like brushed it off. I was like, oh no, that's weird. What are you doing? And then I remember him being like, God, you know what? He's like, you remind me of someone, or something about remind him of something. And then he goes to tell me about my eyebrows. Now, when girls put their eyebrows on, granted, yes, I have hair there, but I still draw them on. Don't bring attention to the eyebrows unless you're going to compliment the hell out of them and be like, girl, they look good. No. What do I get? Yeah, your eyebrows. Some of my eyebrows remind him of something. And then I looked at him like, what? And he straight up said, porno eyebrows. Let me repeat that. Porno eyebrows. I still to this day do not know, or actually I know, but do not understand why he would compare my eyebrows to something that evidently brought up an image of a porno that he watched one day or something and was like, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is weird. Like, this isn't even, I want to go. Like, I need to go. You bringing up sharp objects, you're talking about porno. I'm like, you give me a cheap beer. Like, I need to go. So before we leave, I was like, okay, I need to, can you take me home? It's getting late, maybe we could do something another time. And then I remember him being like, he's like, oh, I was hoping that we could go get a hotel room. I don't even want to know what kind of hotel room this would be, considering he couldn't even afford to get like a 12-pack of beer or anything like that, or even my own 24-ounce, let alone, why would you ask someone on the first date, like, hey, you want to go back to, a hotel and get to know each other? So I was like, no, I'm done. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. I just need to go home. Maybe some other time. And then so finally he takes me home. And I remember, like, when I was getting out of the car thinking, like, I'm not going to call this dude again. He's weird. He needs to just go somewhere. This is, like, beyond, That was a ghetto date from hell anyways. And I'm like, what was I thinking? And I remember him thinking that he looked like the lead singer of Foo Fighters. He was, like, that kind of look, and he had that, like, facial hair. That's what he reminded me of. I couldn't place it until I remember I saw the I was like, oh my god, that looks like that guy that scared the crap out of me. I'm like, I thought I was going to chop me up into little pieces. That's what he looked like. So you would think I would learn my lesson after all of this. But no. Because your girl likes to give second chances. Your girl likes to believe, oh, it was just me that day. Maybe it was just, let me give him another chance. So he calls and he's like, hey, do you want to go do something? Or I'd like to take you back out. And I was like, at that point, like, okay, I need to be somewhere where I know people, because he's a little creepy to me. Hence why I shouldn't have gone anyways. But yeah, come back over. So I was like, oh, good idea on my behalf. Let me invite you over to my grandmother's, where I'm living with my elderly grandmother. So he ended up coming over, and we're hanging out in my room at the time, and we're just talking or whatever. And then I think we were gonna like rent a movie, like people do Netflix and chill. No, it was Redbox and chill. I think we might have got a Redbox movie. I can't remember. If we didn't, I think I just happened to have some on hand, DVDs, collect them, and so we were gonna watch a movie. So I was like, and he's like, well, hey, let's go to the store, let's pick up some, snacks or something. And that's another thing. I'm going on the second date with this guy, and I'm not going anywhere but a grocery store. Granted, I could have went out someplace else maybe if I talked him into it, but I'm like, seriously, a grocery store to get snacks? And I think we got like a bag of chips, and if it wasn't chips, it was like popcorn. It was something, I remember thinking it was something that was inexpensive, cheap. It was like one thing. So evidently he was budgeting to the max or something, and heading back over to my place. So I just remember that when we were walking around the grocery store, he kept like walking behind me, and I not like I thought I was gonna push him or anything, like walking behind me, and like I just got like that creepy vibe, like he's staring at me, he's watching how I walk. It was creepy to me. I was just like, I'm not feeling this, But we go back to my place. I think we ended up watching the movie. I don't really remember, because I remember just being like, when you're like you're trying to watch something, but you're like, you can't wait till this person like gets up and leaves. Like, they need to go now. Like, just grab your shit and go. That was what I was waiting for. So finally, after thinking it was like after the movie was done or something, he finally leaves. At that point, that was when I finally was like, let me listen to my intuition. Let me listen to myself and just be like, it's not working out. It's not going anywhere. You're not attracted to him. What are you doing? So I just stopped talking to him. Unfortunately, I'm not one of the people that is like, oh, I'm sorry it didn't work out, maybe we could just, be friends, or, I'll see you around, that kind of thing. No. I just stopped messaging, I stopped texting, I stopped answering, and I avoided him like the plague. And then bad thing was where I worked at, he was a regular customer. So there would be a few times he would come up and try to talk to me, and I would just like dodge him. Like I would go out in the back in the cooler, or I'd be like, oh, I gotta go help someone. Eventually he got the hint, and I think it hurt his feelings. And then, of course, when you do that, it kind of got a little uncomfortable, because then he would kind of talk, excuse the language, but smack or shit on me. But by that time, I was like, whatever. Let me go tell people what you were all about anyways. I'm like, so you're not going to hurt my feelings on that one. And then I remember telling one of the chicks at work, and when I described him, she was like, oh my God. She's like, he asked me out. And I want to say, I think he actually went over to her place. I don't remember if she told me she thought he was creepy or not, that something was just a little off. I really don't remember, but I do remember her telling me that he at the time was dating like an older woman that was like in her 40s, and so I'm thinking they must have had some kind of like open relationship, which is like a double to me anyways, because I'm like, at the time I was just like, no, dude, you're not even cute, you're not offering any kind of money, you're not, no. And yeah, it was just one of those situations. So needless to say, after that, I'm glad I stopped talking to him. He finally, I think, eventually just kind of went away. That place that I used to work at is no longer in business. I am no longer in the helping people through the window, and I am now married. So my dating scene days, thank God, are over, because if I had to do it all over again, I don't even know what I would do. Because I hear how some of these guys talk, and I'm like, or how they, come at a chick, and I'm just like, no. And knowing what I know now, I would probably be like way too picky. So if you pull a moral from this, it's you can give people second chances, but don't beat it like a dead horse trying to force it, because you're going to end up in a car with the styrofoam cup of beer thinking you're going to be hacked up with like a serial killer is going to get you, spread your little body parts everywhere. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Well, I'm going to end this. I hope that you liked my story time, and I would like to try to do more of these. As always, subscribe, like, and share. I appreciate it. Oh, and excuse this. I had a dress on earlier. I thought it looked cute. I'm looking at it right now and here like, girl, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Yeah, it's got to come down. Got to come down. But that's it. Thanks.